want to bring you to the next stage. The next stage that we want to deal with, even more specifically in relation to today's topic, is the human being and our work. I call it the Homo Economicus in the context of a technologically driven world. In a publication by the World Economic Forum, the technological world is going to significantly impact the way we work and the way we live. This will create, in a certain sense, if we are not careful, the dual class, those that have and those that have not. And so we need to carefully navigate this, before this challenge of a technological world, instead of becoming a blessing, so become the great divide in terms of the social classes. The two extremes that a technologically driven world can usher us, particularly in the context of work, is that you can create a class in which there is massive disruption of work. The jobs that we traditionally have no longer exist, for that matter. On the other extreme, a technologically driven world can also create unlimited so-called opportunities. They call it the limitless of new opportunities that's available. Think of it from the perspective just like Henry Ford. When Henry Ford created, without realizing that he's created probably one of the most important inventions in the world when he created cars. But Henry Ford basically has this interesting foresight. This is what he said. He said, everything that helps man make a little freer is headed along the highway of truth. This does not mean books or ideas only. It means mechanics and commerce and science, and in our time, technological development. Even the motor car is an element in the liberation of mankind and will rank higher than many a philosophy, as it has an impact on man's destiny. It is freeing more men, freeing them into a more different regions than most books systems do. You can imagine the creation of cars as we use it today actually frees up our transportation. The creation of cars allows goods to traverse across vast territory. The invention of cars actually allows us to take us away from our work that will be able to bring us into leisure, the exploration of our freer space. So would not technology do the same thing? By doing the mundane thing that lock us down, and free us our time to do the things that we humanly and only humanly can do. So this is the positive part of it. And this is something that we want to think about. In terms of the work perspective, the technology has changed us significantly. I always say that there are new jobs that's been created. For example, in the last 10 to 15 years, we have not, in 10 or 15 years ago, we do not know what is a podcaster. It never exists, right? So what is it? Yeah, what is an AI engineer? As it is that I mean, right? And cloud computing, people have no clue what cloud computing is all about. Is that I mean? Data scientist or data miner. One more interesting job that probably did not exist 15 years ago: social media manager. All right. So in a sense, it holds for us unlimited possibilities, but it is also scary. World Economic Forum actually tells us that there are 4 major pieces of things in technology that actually will change the way we live and do work. First is that of the high-speed mobile internet. Secondly, artificial intelligence. Thirdly, the adoption of data analytics. And fourthly, cloud technology. Let me just give you just a gist of what we are talking about. Let's take the example of high-speed mobile internet. Remember many years ago, the best home computer we ever had is the IBM 286. And it's a clunky thing, as it is. But today, ladies and gentlemen, we have the most advanced computer in our pocket. Right? A simple mobile phone that can connect us to the whole world, instantaneously knowing what is happening in terms of news. This is creation, in that sense, to its most exciting part, for that matter. Cloud technology. In the good old days, we were always afraid about storage. Now, storage is no longer the problem. The problem becomes finding the stored information, right? The arrangement of the stored information as it is. And then we talk about, too, in terms of data analytics. Things are happening. Remember, when we go online purchases, the prices are dynamically adjusting because of the information flow coming in terms of supply and demand. Right? So when you book the budget airline ticket, remember, the ticket prices keep going up, especially because the seats are limited and the supply and demand curves start interacting on a real-time basis. All this technology will constantly change the way we live. I am an educator and I need to ask the following questions as I stare at these four major drivers. Right? As an educator, I have to look at the way I educate people and ask these questions. What do we need to know about these digital technologies? Right? I can't be like ostrich and hide my head in the sand and say that these don't exist. They will. I need to ask this question. How can we include these digital technologies in the training of professionals, in education? Does our trainers, ourselves, the faculty, or the instructors, have the ability to teach these digital technologies today? And how do we work with the current industry professionals to ensure that they are re-equipped with these technologies in order that they don't lose their jobs? If I cannot answer the above questions, there is a likelihood that those whom I train or whom I provide the education will be jobless. This is how serious the technology impact the landscape. So I also, in terms of the classification of work, how man sees their work alongside the changes in technologies, the World Economic Forum created this thought pattern. There are three types of roles in this new job. There are the stable roles, there are the new roles, and there are also the redundant roles. Right? So for example, speaking from the accounting and the finance world, data entry clerk, simple bookkeeping clerk, their jobs are finished. Because the advent of AI, machine learning, and even optic character reading will put them out of job. Even the caller as it is, right? The telemarketers, they will be replaced by chatbot for that matter. Right? So these kind of roles will be redundant. So there was a finding and study that basically makes this speculation or projection into the future. Right? In 2020, 48% of all the jobs that we have will likely be stable. Right? That means though there are changes, but yet there are still core jobs that will remain. 21% will be made redundant. And 27% of the new roles will be created. So the scary part of it is that means every 100 jobs we have today, half of them will probably remain, but 21 of them will basically be made redundant. And unless you are in the stable group, you fall on the other side. If you don't retool yourself to fill up the 28% new roles, you will be made redundant. 1 in every 5 will literally, if they don't do anything, they will be made redundant. And this is how severe, so-called, the technology is. And then the other thing that we look at is what we so-call the technological, digital technology impact on human. The human and machine percentage at this point in time, for example, in the job of administration, in 2018, of the total working time, 28% are done by machines. But when it comes to 2022, 44% of them will be done by machines. Right? And more interestingly, in information and data processing, now only 47% are done by machine, but comes 2022, it's about 62%. That means the human hours is actually less than half. Right? That means one way of interpreting this is that we will be systematically be replaced in some of our jobs by machines. And herein lies some of the key questions that we need to deal with, particularly for us as human beings, where our self-worth is predicated upon our work and job. Should humankind be merely viewed as economic agents? That means you're only valuable, you're only worth something so long as you're economically productive. If you are not, you should go as soon as possible. How does a technologically driven world threaten humankind in relation to its economic security? You see, if we find our self-worth only in the economic work, and then once we're out of job, literally there goes our self-worth, there goes our humanity per se too, you know. You see what I mean, right? There goes our humanity per se too. Can humankind find meaning and purpose in work in a technologically driven world? We need to come to work every day happy, fulfilling. Remember, we spend between 70 to 80% of our waking time every day at work. And if work is a drudgery, if work has no meaning and purpose in a technologically driven world, then I'm not so sure whether life is worth living, where you spend 70-80% of your day just going through the motion. What do you think?
I mean, my first thought is, if you are coming to work with drudgery, it's a kind of a good problem in the sense that you still have work.
Oh, yes.
Can you imagine people who are so systematically replaced because of technological advances? I'm just thinking when I started work, we're still using typewriters into physical forms. But right now, the way information is generated and move on, thankfully we can kind of evolve our skill set, by kind of just adapting, being flexible. But I can imagine if someone who is unable to adapt or someone who is unable to pick up new skill sets for whatever reasons, wow, it is staggering in terms of the ramifications. Yeah.
So either way is no good. I have no job is bad. I have a job but I have no meaning in job is equally bad. See, I think man has to step back and say, in this technologically driven world, how can we restore the dignity of work back? How can we restore and find our humanity, our purpose of living? How can we be able to go to work every day and say that, boy, this is a great life, this is a great job that I'm doing?
I think one of the services or the what we today take for granted is the human interaction. And with all the technological advances, be it at the workplace or the way you find entertainment will change. But one of the things that is very inherent in us is the need for human contact, the need for community. And at some point, these services where you might have to pay for someone to actually come talk to you. And whilst we talk about new occupations related to machines, there might be a whole slew of occupations that relate to bringing back the human interaction and the human touch, which today we take for granted.
And in fact, with this is really what will bring us to the next segment, which is how do we regain or restore our humanity in the midst of a technologically driven world?